What does it take to become a sports translator? Coming up. Hello and welcome back to the Freelanceverse. It's time for another specialized episode on the channel. Today we talk about sports translations. Very interesting and creative specialization, I feel like. It's also one of my own, so I'm also very into that and involved. And I have again 3 knowledgeable experts in the field on the channel. Thank you very much for joining. You'll find all their links in the description if you want to reach out to them. I'm very happy to announce that memoQ decided to sponsor the specialized episodes. It's now an official partnership. Thank you very much for that. As you know, memoQ is a tool that helps translators improve their productivity, increase translation quality, and meet tight deadlines. If you want to know more about memoQ, the link is in the description. Let's get on with the video. So we are back with another episode of Specialized on my channel. This week is a very special one to me. It's about sports, which is also my specialization actually. But for the purposes of this video, I will be the interviewer, and I have 3 experts here that also specialize in sports. We have Robert, Jay, and Martina. I think the best would be if you guys could introduce yourself a bit to the viewers. Jay, would you like to start?
So hello everyone, I'm Jay. I translate from French, Spanish and Portuguese into English. My main specialism is sport, obviously why I'm on this interview today. Most of my work in the sports area is for football, but I also do work for other sports such as basketball, and my other main specialism is darts. Then other than that, I do a lot of tourism translation and development work as well.
Nice. Robert?
Hi everyone, my name is Robert. I am based in Chemnitz in the eastern part of Germany. I do specialize as a translator in sport, mainly football, also biathlon, and some other sports as well, some action sports. My working languages are English, French, and German.
And Martina.
So I am an Italian translator, but I've been in the industry for about 13 years. But then a few years ago, almost 4 now, I set up an agency, which is called the Action Sports Translator. So that should give you a bit of a hint on what we do. And we do only work with action sports and outdoors. So we don't work with the mainstream sports like football, rugby, tennis, soccer, none of that. We only work with adrenaline stuff, outdoors, jumping off a plane, snowboarding, stuff like that.
Yeah, it's lovely. I love how focused and how niched you went with your agency. Tell us a bit, like what was the process to get there? What's your background? Did you study translation and did you work in it then as a translator?
Yeah, so I did study translation. That was my formal background. I did gradually and naturally became a marketing translator because that was part of my education as well. My thing was, marketing translation for software companies, which is still what I do. I've got an agency in that as well. But then 4 years ago, because I am a rock climber, snowboarder, I tried to surf. I'm not very good at that, but I'm into kite surfing. So then I realized that a lot of these action sports brands content was really poor. And so I decided to put together my background and expertise with my know-how and passion for action sports and set up this agency. And now we've been going strong for 4 years almost.
Okay. Robert, would you say also for you, like a passion for sport is a requirement to specialize? And are there other requirements, would you say, to become a sports translator?
At least it helps a lot if you're passionate about sport, because then you have a different motivation. You know how the people speak, and which is very important. You are able to put on the shoes of the protagonists in sports, and this helps a lot being a sports translator. It helps a lot if you do the sport yourself.
Is this how you chose your sports, the one you are practicing yourself?
That's funny. I've been I grew up next to the football stadium with my local hometown club, so I grew up with football. But I don't practice football at the moment. I'm more into running, cycling, swimming, and some other sports. So it you don't necessarily have to practice the sports you're translating for, I would say, but it helps a lot if you do. If you have a genuine interest for sport and know how athletes feel, this makes a big difference, in my opinion.
Definitely. Jay, question for you. Is there a specific, like within the sports specialization, is there a specific subgenre that you specialize in terms of content types or even more in-depth, like specific, regional aspects of sports?
I wouldn't say specific nation as such. All my work in the football area can be very varied. It could be anything from interviews and press conferences with managers to just more general articles about a particular team or national side or a particular tournament. So it really varies. I mean, the most niche thing that I do is probably the work I do for the basketball client, because sometimes they don't just send me basketball related stuff. I will get translations about anything from trail running to cliff diving as well. So if you do say that you are a sports translator, you might not necessarily just get work in the sport that you claim to specialise in.
Yeah, I think that is quite an important point to mention, because like the text would be completely different if you translate cliff diving or basketball, right? And when someone says they're a technical translator, for example, what does that mean? Is it engineering? Is it electrical stuff? So it's always important to go as niche as possible for all the viewers out there, but still like keep at least a level of openness. So you then don't turn down these cliff jumping jobs, you try to still do them. I mean, there is also an argument to be had to then say, that's not for me, right? That's for someone that does action sports. That's something you went into, Martina. What was the thought process behind that? Why did you specifically go for such a niche topic rather than opening yourself up to football, which probably has much bigger, much larger audiences and content, right?
I mean, I could have, but to be honest, I don't know the first thing about football. I'm not excited about it. I couldn't care less. Whereas, I wake up, like I spent half of my life hanging on a piece of rock. So that's how I really connect with the clients. I am part of the industry. I am one of them. And that makes a huge difference for me to be able to connect with them, sell to them, understand where they're coming from, understand their issues, and then also understand the content that we are writing, translating. Okay, what are the potential issues that we might come into?
Okay, so that's rather a personal motivation there. And now when I see you on LinkedIn looking for freelancers, you also go extremely specific, right? You have high requirements. You only want the best. How was this process for you? Is it hard to find these people, I assume, right?
Yeah, well, we have one here that we're on the panel. Robert works with us and is really awesome. But it does take a long time to find the right people. I mean, you need to be lucky that they even exist, okay? So when we're talking about a specific sport, like we just said, snowboarding is a completely different sport to, football, surfing, whatever. Like, there is a lot of very different terminology. The culture, the subculture of the sport is completely different. Like my climbing community is worlds apart from the surfing community, for instance. So it's a lot of things that come into play. So you need to be lucky that those people exist, especially in language, like rare languages. So like we were just struggling out, for example, with Finnish. Oh my God, it took us ages to find someone. It's expensive to find the right people because you have to go through a lot of different processes. What I want to say is that I always talk about how good it is, just like how many benefits there are in specializing. But when you also have an agency that's specialized, there is also another side of the coin, which we don't often talk about, which is, it's not for the faint-hearted, but I still do like it and enjoy it, so.
Interesting transition there that Robert you are kind of a client for Robert then, right? So can we talk, I want to talk to you a bit about clients. We have exactly the same language combination, same specialization. So I know kind of in what area you work in. We also talk about the clients we have. As much as you are allowed to share, can you tell us a bit who your clients are?
I do work for several sports organizations, bodies directly. So these are direct clients. And also I do work for some specialized agencies that specialize in sports, and also some general agencies that don't necessarily specialize in sports. And I think that's a nice mix of having direct clients and to work with and some agencies, because Yeah, I like the mix and the variety of topics you may have, the text types. For instance, some sports bodies, they just have translated, say, rule books or administrative documents. And whereas some agencies, they have like previews or interviews with athletes, which can be more exciting. So
what I noticed myself, Jay, and I don't know if it's for you the same, you have also, tourism is your other specialization, right? Yeah. Do you notice a difference, like how you can approach and how you can talk to your sports clients versus your tourism clients? Do you see a difference in tone and just approachability to them?
That's a good question. Personally, I don't think so, because as long as I manage to effectively communicate my passion for travel to the tourism client, for example, and then my passion for sport to the sports client, then I usually find there's a similar level of success in getting them. And another thing I've found with my sports work in particular is that there is quite a bit of a crossover as well between the two fields. For example, over the past year, I've translated several texts related to rugby-themed tourism in the south of France. So, for example, people go away for the weekend to Perpignan to watch Catalan Dragons and then go and have a gourmet dining experience and then a wine tour all in the same weekend. So things like that perfectly bridge the two fields together very nicely. So when I get the chance to pitch for work like that, it's just a case of showing them that I'm equally interested in both areas and that my skills in both can combine. And then also coming back to Robert's comment as well on the client base, mine's very similar as well. Some agencies that specialise specifically in sports and send me work all the time, particularly for football. Then other agencies that are the more generalist ones that claim to specialise in many different fields. Usually if they get a sports job, it'll come my way for my language base. And then struggled a bit more with direct clients, but I'm still relatively new. I've only been full-time for a year now. But I have worked for a couple of darts retailers in Spain and Portugal, for example, translating the description to their products, which is great because darts is my second sport after football that I play. So yeah, that's been really good as well.
Brilliant. Yeah, that's an excellent point you said with the combination of tourism and sports. I didn't even think about that, but there's so many like sports related travels, right? I mean, just a few weeks ago, I was in Spain and south of Spain, and everyone there was just golf tourists. So that's another completely different niche. In terms of personal and professional development, Martina, can you tell us a bit, how do you keep up to date with the latest trends in the sport you work with? And especially you as your agency, you specialize in action sports. Like, how are there different resources, or just being in the community helps, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, I guess for me it's a bit different because I try to stay out of the translation phase a bit more. So I think it would be more relevant for Robert and Jay. But for me, even just being, what I do, I go to once or twice or even more times a year to relevant industry trade shows, conferences, sports, I mean, not translation ones. And then, just being around the people, like I hear how they speak, and that's how, for me, it's just, because even if it's written content, there's still going to be element of that subculture of each sport that I'm able to, have a strategic view on how things are. And then, of course, I subscribe to specific industry magazines. They come back to me with even market reports on a specific region and specific sports, and then just kind of, read magazines and stuff like that.
Robert, how is it for you? I know that in German there are so many English loan words in sports content, right? How do you deal with these sort of things? And what is your practice of keeping up to date with mostly football is your specialization, right?
Yeah.
And what did you say? Biathlon? Yes.
Biathlon as well. Yeah. I mainly read specialist magazines. I have subscription to 2 of them. So they come home to my letterbox every month or every week. And
Nice.
I also watch a lot of the sports I'm working in on TV, because the commentary is very important. They speak the language, and this helps enormously. Loan words, I tend to do it like the specialists do, like in the whatever I read and in the newspaper or whatever I hear on TV. I use the same words. Basically, I try to build up little treasure, I would call, of synonyms, of phrases and verbs, etc. Just to have variety in my language. So that's basically what I do.
Yeah, as the specialists do, is a good point. I really love this part because sports are so connected to culture, right? And I really love this. We have the ability to kind of shape language in a way, right? When there is a new event happening, like a World Cup or whatever, a big worldwide event, and we are translating the language, then this is seen by so many, like millions of people usually. And you get to kind of be part of the whole process of developing this discourse around it, which is great. Jay, one question to you that I experience quite often when I talk to people about my specialization. They are surprised and they say, "Oh, really? Sports? I would have never have thought that this is a specialization." I see that it's oftentimes not really taken seriously. What do you have anything to add to that, to these people?
Again, that's a very good point you've made, because, for example, when I was doing my MA in translation, all the talk was about medical, legal, financial translation. Nobody really mentioned sports. In fact, I think in the whole year, we only did one textbook that was sport related in our translation classes. And then we were just told, if you're interested, try and find a tech for your extended project. And then nobody really seems to talk about it in the industry either. I mean, until recently, the ITI, for example, didn't have a subject network for sport. And it was myself who had the idea of creating it. We've already got nearly 90 members, so that just proves how many people are actually in sport translation, yet it doesn't receive the coverage it deserves to get. And another thing on that, you can't really find any training courses on sport translation either. And it's only recently that I've seen webinars, for example, on sport translation, in which I've been lucky enough to take part in 2 of them. If we do more things like this, then more people will be interested in it. And I've already noticed that, for example, on LinkedIn, I've had numerous people get in contact with me lately, for example, MA students who love sport, saying, "How do I get into sport translation?"
If I may jump in, I think it's very important what Jay said. I had the same experience in the past. So just a little anecdote. When I was doing my translation degree, we had to do a final paper, this 100-page academic paper. And I was dealing with football coverage in English and German at the time. And the reviewers were happy with what I did, but one point of criticism was that there would be no market for football translations or sports translations. So, but today I'm working on a daily basis in this specialization. So my advice would be to any aspiring translators out there, always believe in yourself and still follow your goals and dreams. There will always be a niche for a specialization. It may be hard to find it, but remain encouraged and go for your goals.
Definitely, especially if you find one that you're passionate and good about, it's easier and you're quicker at the top, right? Because not many people are doing it. So I can definitely attest to that, but it's still very important that we promote this as a serious specialization. I tell everyone that people text me or write comments in my videos almost every day saying, "Oh, I don't have a specialization. I'm not good in anything," and stuff. And that's never true, right? And then I usually go with them through a few exercises and they realize that there's always something that they are better in than most of the people in the world, but they just don't know that this is a viable way to go. And there's always a way to monetize your knowledge, right? In translation. So that's a very important point. And that's what I try to promote with these videos exactly. So we are slowly coming to an end. One thing that I always like to do is I would like to give a word of advice for people watching this and thinking, I'm doing sports regularly. I'm passionate about it. I'm an athlete, swimmer, translator, and I want to go into this field. Martina, what would you tell to this person? What's the best word of advice you have for someone wanting to do what you do or what you did and now make other people do?
Look, if you are an inspiring translator and so you haven't really, or you are an inspiring sports translator, just go for it. Go to Google. Now, since I started 4 years ago, now there is more and more agencies in sports translation popping up. I see people specializing in sports popping up all the time. There is a lot of demand and not enough people when it comes to translators. So it doesn't matter if you don't have a specific experience. Sorry, my cat. If you don't have a specific experience about sports translation itself. If you already have experience in any type of translation, it's just a matter of creating, a portfolio, going online, getting some content that you can practice on, and then creating a portfolio that you can show others. And there is a million different ways to do that. If you go on my profile on LinkedIn, I have written an article about how to create a portfolio for freelance translators. So follow the advice in there. That's like how I got my first client, which then turned into an agency client. The proof is in the pudding. Now we work with the biggest outdoor sports brands in the world, and I'm just like a normal. I was like a normal freelance translator, and I'm not like special or anything. So it's exactly what I did. I didn't have the experience. I put the work in, put a portfolio together, got in touch with some companies, and then slowly turned that into an agency. And you don't need to, get to the agency part, but if you want to be a sports translator, then that's what in my opinion, you should be focusing on.
Great. And yes, I can attest you're definitely an inspiration and a role model to many in this scene. Jay, anything to add to that?
Another word of advice I would give is that there's plenty of bilingual content out there for people to pick up the sports vocabulary in their source languages, for instance. Because as we said, sport terminology phrase is very specific and very specific to each sport as well. So one thing that I did, for example, when I started was for Spanish, read the articles in Spanish on Real Madrid and Barcelona's website, and then looked at the English translation to compare them and pick up new vocabulary. So they're just little things you can do to try and get yourself prepared really to work in the sports field. And also, another word of advice, we're all very friendly people, translators. Any of us will be happy to give newcomers or aspiring translators advice. I do it all the time now, and it's something I really enjoy doing. So if you have any questions, please ask us. We're usually very happy to help.
Lovely message. Thank you very much. And Robert, to finish the video.
Well, just another advice, go out to events maybe of your main sport, or of your most, the sport you like the most. Go there, talk to people, try to build a network online, like on LinkedIn. Because I, for myself, got some clients through recommendations also. So it helps a lot to make yourself stand out as a sports expert or specialist, and always believe in yourself.
That's a sporty final sentence. Very nice. Thanks to all of you. This was very interesting. I'm going to, of course, link all the links you would like to give to the people down below so they can actually reach out to you, as Jay said. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Let me know which specialization you would like to see next in the comments, and I see you next Monday with the next one. Bye-bye.